Okay. And so I'd like to start by now to go into a little bit more of a formal meditation posture. Okay? But regardless of whether we're in a formal meditation posture or not, we're going to be present. Urge that presence, being receptive and that sensitivity. So inside or outside of formal meditation, we're going to still be present, still be mindful. Right? So for full meditation, the body doesn't need to be in any particular way. You often see the Buddha images, well, this is a bodhisattva image, but often seated, that's up here. And this Buddha image over here is one of the lying down posture, right? Right. Um, this is a kind of a respectful pose. It's possible to do meditation like that, but it's not be difficult. And so what we want to do is just find some posture physically that we can sustain ourselves, right? Where we can be upright and alert, yeah. But not too, how do you say, rigid, right? And we want to be comfortable and relaxed, but not so comfortable or relaxed we start to drift off, right? It's usually the reason why we don't teach meditation like this initially, because it's too easy to get comfortable, and then it becomes maybe a class and people just, going to sleep. So whatever posture you're in, that's good. It could be on the ground, it could be in the chair, it could be in the couch, but I would encourage you to sit in a way where you're upright. Like, you don't want to be like kind of hunched over like this, and you don't want to be like, like I'm trying to exaggerate, but like really, like really kind of ram around like that, right? Just something where you're upright and alert, and it could be on the ground, it could be in the chair. I would, if you're going to be in a chair, I definitely recommend, it's not required, but I definitely recommend one of the, what do you call it, the simpler chairs. The cushy chairs are okay, but there's again the tendency to lie back. So if you're going to be in a cushy chair, I would definitely encourage you to, keep a forward leaning, maybe sit closer to the edge, to your upright. And it's also good to, I think, the matches here, to set an environment that is, they say, uplifting, right? I mean, this is a very beautiful place, but I think one of the things we can do is not imagine all these letting. Oh, that's not a candle. That was an electric one. Oh, this one. So there. There's always things that are on. Yeah, I apologize. I think this is one of those electric ones. That's why I was reluctant to trying to get it started. And then I was like, oh, wait, this is actually an old candle. So we have, something that's inspiring, right? So come here, and it doesn't have to be anything particular, right? I'm a Buddhist monk, so I obviously have an attraction to like representations of the Buddha, or a bodhisattva for somebody that um, or not just a bodhisattva, but also a Buddha themselves. Is that?
I think it's Kuan Yin. I
Was
mean,
it Kuan Yin? Okay, so
yeah.
a different Buddha,
Yeah.
different Buddha. Okay. And so we can use this if we're inspired to do so. But it doesn't have to be. It's somehow maybe the deer. For a lot of people, they like the, my mother, for example, I've been visiting her recently, and she would love that. She would love looking at the deer, because that's inspiring to her, right? And so just you want to find also something that kind of bring to mind something that is uplifting, right? Something that's like, okay, I'm gonna try to be still, but I'm doing this for something, or to um, we want to kind of frame our meditation in a kind of way that we're trying to lift up ourselves, right? To maybe become a better person, only looking at it, but just trying to see the more beautiful parts of humanity or of ourselves and say, those are the things I want to focus on. Okay. So you have your posture, you have your inspiration, right? And now you want to start putting forth the effort. Okay? The effort, meditation. There's many ways for effort to stop doing and to be alert. Okay? Well, refrain as much as we can from not just any more physical movements, but also any additional mental movement. Anything that you're experiencing, you don't have to change those things. Whatever we're seeing or hearing or feeling or smelling or tasting, or whatever we're experiencing internally with thoughts and emotions. The job isn't to change any of that, per se. Making a commitment, reacting less, slowing up, just being present. You can keep your eyes open, you can close your eyes. Whichever one you choose, make a commitment. Keep your eyes open. Just keep them in one spot. Found the deer is inspiring, keep it in that spot. You like the computer laptop, that's okay. Maybe just pay attention to the corner or something so you don't get too distracted from the screen. Maybe a spot on the carpet. Just something where you'll know you're going to keep your attention on. Just checking in with the body. Feeling, encouraging it to be alert and relaxed, present and calm, alert and peaceful. Even if the body doesn't feel this way, it's going to be with that. Even if the mind doesn't feel this way, it's going to be with that. Deep breath in, holding, taking a deep breath out, holding, breath in, holding, and deep breath in, and holding, holding, and feeling a couple more times. Folks that have a meditation practice, please go ahead and practice as you wish. For those that are new or starting their practice, I'd like to share some guidance. Our job isn't to create any sort of state of peace or state of bliss or happiness per se. Just want to be present to whatever we're experiencing and return to our home. And what do I mean by that? We want to be with something that is simple and something that we can return to over and over. The body to be a very helpful place to be home. Everybody is different and experience the body differently. And we can, for those that want to try, look at your hand. Have your eyes open, you can open them right now. And just see how it feels when you open and close your hand. And just feel pressure and warmth and wetness, different things. And we're not so it's one time. Just want to feel, and use our hands as an anchor of the home base. Eyes closed in the beginning, you close your eyes now. Have your eyes open, you can return to being present with whatever starting point you started at. Just keeping your attention, your hand. Don't have to move them anymore. Just feeling. Keep our attention to your hand. And just move them very slightly. And how does that feel? Our awareness focused on our hand. Where the attention goes, being present and returning to our home. No need to add anything and take anything away. posture. To investment. Slowly. Very contemplate. Back relax. Observe. Calm. Your attention, your body, attention. From your attention to more addition to whatever we're feeling in the body. Start to pay attention to the sound. And the body attention more. And the eyes closed. Please open them now, very slowly. And then present your body and thoroughly moving. And please keep the continuity of attention, whatever you seeing or hearing, wherever you're feeling your body or smelling or tasting, whatever is going on inside. So, feel it up. Oh, no, you're getting up, right? If you're walking, you just know you're walking. Yes. Whatever posture you're in.
So when we come back, maybe you can talk a little bit about your journey to them. And I think people who have, these days lost homes and literally become homeless, they may relate to some inspiration about that. Mhm. Okay, Uncle Sun works. Oh, I always bring them back.
This is your number.
So, now people are interested. I have two bookshelves over there. That they're both books for free to take. If anybody's interested.
Would you recommend if someone's starting out?
Maybe Bhante can. Start.
Oh, that's good.
That's a good one. In Suchito meditation book. This might be a good one. And then Ajampasana the Dhamma Compass. And a weekly. So just take, even if you don't understand it, something is going. You're welcome to them. technology. You're also welcome to after, yeah, take a look and they're saying they can't hear. Someone is talking.
Can other people hear, or is it just one person, or is it the whole thing?
Well, can you all hear us now?
Yeah,
Do-
I can hear you now, but when he was doing the meditation, at times it got really, really soft, almost
Yeah.
to a whisper, and I have trouble hearing, and I have hearing aids. Even with my hearing aids, I was straining to hear what was being said. So when you're speaking right now, there's no problem, but as the meditation went on, it was like it got softer and more like a whisper, and then it was really hard to hear.
Thank you. That's the nature of guided meditation. I hear that all the time, like, oh, I can't hear anymore. It's like, we want to keep it soft. Yes.
No, it's actually good, it's good feedback because the direction is, to get more subtle, and the mind and body tend to get a little more soft, over time. But we want to be able to now share with people online, so, and also it might be more and more difficult to hear,
Yes.
so, okay. And we turn to our seats. Knowing when we're sitting down or standing up. Knowing when we're walking. Knowing when we're lying. Do formal meditation again. Being a suitable posture. Bringing up or looking at something to inspire or gladden our experience. Just for myself, just to share my own experience. I'm actually quite delighted to see so many people interested in practicing meditation, being with a Buddhist monk on a Friday night. wow, that's great. You know, I just, for me, it warms my heart. So, this is what I find quite uplifting. But really, anything at all that that starts to uplift you. Oh, some people said, oh, I'm doing meditation off and on, but I wouldn't want to restart doing it. It's actually really good. Hey, why don't you do this? Actually can't even know. No, anything at all that starts to bring them on. Start to use that. So finding a posture, finding a motivation, and finding ways to settle in, come home. Those a study meditation practice, please use this time to practice as you see fit. For those that are new or perhaps curious about this particular way of meditating, to decide anything that has happened before, even a few seconds ago, let alone a long time ago. And anything that we may have to experience in the future, any plans or worries, dreams or fears, and just put them to the side. And just being present to whatever we're experiencing right now. Closing our eyes very gently. Closing the body to be upright, alert, and relaxed. Being aware of the whole body, just in general. And then being aware of the upper part of the body, however it feels. Being aware of the lower part of the body, however it may feel. You may feel warmth, coolness. You may feel pressure, softness, hardness, tingliness, sharpness, anything at all. Whatever you may be feeling, it's experiencing. Be very present. Turning to the upper body, feeling the upper body at the exclusion of the lower body. Feeling the lower body at the exclusion of the upper body. And a little bit more focus, slightly more focus whatever the head may be feeling. Whatever the shoulders and neck may be feeling. Bringing our attention to our arm, forearm, and hand. Wherever the hand may be feeling. Bringing our attention to our chest, abdomen, our side, our back, out of our back, all over our back. Bringing attention up, bottom area, our hips, our thighs, and the knees, palms, and chin, and feet. Turning our attention just over the body as a whole feeling. Our attention to our hands, however it may be feeling. Back to the body as a whole. Over the mind, just experiencing, just experiencing, gently turning our attention to our body, however the bodies feel, and turning our attention to our hands, however the hands feel. You can keep your attention on your hand. And you can broaden our attention farther throughout the body. And then And the posture. And move to very gently, very slowly. Adjust your posture. For the posture to be upright and alert, at the same time relaxed and attentive. Present and alive. Now the body's maybe feeling wherever the tension, where it's most easy. Tension, include our hearing, whatever sound, allowing ourselves to be present and attentive, both the hearing and the sound, the feeling of the body and the body itself. If you have your eyes closed, very slowly, very gently, open your eyes, being very present to whatever sights are coming in. Just seeing things as seeing. Whatever sound, just hearing. Whatever is going on in the body, just feeling. Just before the meditation, Manijeh asked if I could share a few words, in particular about some of the practices I've been doing as a monk, that might be of interest to some of the people here or anybody here. A couple of years ago, I was thinking about how I could practice. What does it mean to practice? Well, to practice the development of the Buddhist teachings in my case. And one of the areas that I felt that would be very helpful to practice was the area of what is called metta. So what is metta? Metta is a word in Pali. It often gets translated in different ways. Some people translate it as loving kindness. Other people have translated it as loving friendliness. Other people, I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of other translations. goodwill, friendliness, love, maybe not so much in the kind of sticky sense, but just general goodwill. Yeah. These are all aspects of metta. And I actually had a very nice ride over here. Randy was very kind to pick me up from the Van Nuys bus stop, and we actually had a chance to talk about a few things, and he shared his experiences with metta, and delight to hear about other people practicing metta and really developing that. I can really feel that. It's very, very nice to be in the presence. And this is something that I knew that I needed to, or wanted to, be good to find ways of practicing metta. And there's traditional ways involving meditation, and I found those to be quite challenging, and for different reasons. And I was thinking, well, what would be a more suitable form of practice? And there were two things I was very interested in. And one was, so as a Buddhist monk, I think it was Richard who came over earlier, and he said, oh, would you like some of the food that was over here? And I was like, oh, thank you. It's good. Unfortunately, I'm actually not allowed to have the food that's over there. It's delightful as it looks, and probably as delightful as it tastes. And actually, by my rules, as a Buddhist monk, I'm not allowed to have that food. Well, is there something? Buddhist monks can't eat carrots, or no? It's actually, you're not allowed to eat at certain times of the day. So I can have food in the morning, but I can't have food in the evening. And the reason for this I'm not going to go into, but basically, I have a very regimented schedule, whether I'm in the monastery or outside the monastery. I still have the same rules or precepts I need to follow. And so the traditional way for monks to get food, so not only we're not allowed to have food in the evening, but we're also not allowed to grow our own food. We're not allowed to keep food too long. Most foods we can only keep for the morning period of the day, and we have to give it up. There's a few things I'm allowed to have at the evening. It's actually over here. I'm allowed to have tea and juice and things like that. But so Manijeh was very kind. That was very beautiful. Very so we're allowed to have these sort of things, but so we're not allowed to keep most things for too long. And so how do I, and for those that have heard earlier, the tradition I'm part of, we're not allowed to use money, we're not allowed to accept money. Well, how do you eat? Well, it's very simple. We're actually dependent on the generosity of others. And so my life, quite literally, for the last 9, almost 10 years now, has been because of the generosity of many, many people. And I would not be alive if it was not for that. And so the traditional way of receiving that generosity is for monks will go out, and that over there, that's my alms bowl. That's actually what I receive food into. So I'll go out in the mornings and I'll find a place to stand and walk and see if anybody would like to offer food. And in a culture or society, like in many countries in Southeast Asia, that know what monks are and know what monks are doing, it makes a lot of sense. And for those that live here in the United States, they might think that's impossible. Almost very few people here are Buddhists, and even those Buddhists, most don't know what monks and alms bowls are doing. So that possibly can't work, right? So, but it actually can work in the sense of of actually sustaining oneself. And I knew this because I had heard many stories of other monks, having, when I was, before I became a monk, I heard stories of other monks going out to the United States and going outside with their alms bowl, just like in Southeast Asia, and actually receiving food. And so I actually had done this on my own. And I knew it was, this was not just a possible thing, but I also found it to be quite an uplifting and positive experience. And so I thought a couple of years ago, I really want to keep doing this. I really want to practice this because I saw that this actually seems to maybe help with my interest in developing nectar. So, okay. All right, so I want to start doing this on a regular basis as a practice, right? So practices means you're practicing, you're doing it on your basis. If you're practicing piano, just going to piano once and playing a few keys and never going back to it, you're not really practicing, right? I mean, you're having fun, but you're not learning how to play piano. Right? So, okay, I was going to make a commitment. I'm going to go all in on regularly. And I was also thinking a couple of years ago this time that maybe I'd also want to be wandering on my own. What does this mean? Right. So traditionally, Buddhist monks at the time of the Buddha, they pretty much lived on the outskirts of society, often living in small communities and in trees or small huts, right? Things are, for most everybody, it was simpler, but for monks it was very, very simple, right? So I had heard other monks doing this, not just in Southeast Asia where it's known and understood, but also here in the United States. And I found that very inspiring. It's like, wow, that's actually possible to do that. And I thought, well, I can't do that, just so you know, like I'm not the most physically robust person. When I was a kid, I was often like the last or second to last person that got picked on a sports team or something like that, right? And that can pretty much continue to my adulthood. I mean, I could do things physically, but I was never very kind of skilled or strong per se. And at the monastery, I could definitely see that there are many monks that come from very, how do you say, a lot of athletic background, or they love being the forest, so it really it's one of the things that attracts them to being. I was somebody that, if you know my background, I was very comfortable with looking lights and suburban or urban existence was very much more my more normal mode of being. And so it was very difficult for me to, often be in physicality. But I thought, well, maybe I can do this. Maybe, And that was, not necessarily kind of a way of exercising nothing, but maybe exercising something else. And that particular was being willing to live with uncertainty. Yeah. So one of the core kind of teachings of the Buddha was to get us to start seeing things more properly. What does that mean properly, right? Well, it's being able to see in particular things that are not permanent as not permanent. Right? Our minds are really good at deceiving ourselves. We maybe think other people are good at deceiving other people, and we don't like it when that happens, and we don't like when other people fool us. But truthfully, the biggest deceiver we have is ourselves. Our own minds are fooling ourselves all the time. And one of the core ways that it's doing this is by being things that's permanent and it's not permanent. And so I thought, well, this might be a good way of practicing. And it's a very traditional thing to do, to wander on one's own. And we get to really experience living in a very uncertain way. Yeah. And so I started really doing this a couple of years ago. And in fact, reason why Manijeh, we got a hold is because another monk had said, oh, this monk who recently did this. I basically did this 2 months long, wandering journey here in California. And at the end, I was coming back to LA, and then the monk was like, "Hey, Manijeh, there's this monkey." And so it was like, it was delightful. Here, and the circumstances didn't work out, but I told Manijeh, "Hey, the next time I'm back in LA, I want to reconnect with him." So anyways, this is how all this stuff happened recently. And so the last few months, while I haven't been necessarily doing alms round every day with my own bowl, or walking on my own, I've been incorporating that in different practices, right? And so maybe just to kind of share a little bit, just some, what it's actually like, what is it actually like to do this, and share maybe, I mean, there's so many different times, but just to kind of talk about well, I was talking about most recent time, right? Which was less than a week ago. So recently, the last few days I've actually been visiting my mother, right? There's a few things I'm taking care of with my mother before I'm leaving the country soon. But just before that, I was actually took a few days to walk down from Santa Barbara here to get to the LA area. And so, basically I got a train, train from, then it was a bus. There's a bus from, I forget all the names, but it's near Santa Ynez. Took a bus from around there over to Santa Barbara, got off the bus and just like, I don't have it here, but a big backpack, just started walking. Right? And, most of the time, a lot of times people think, wow, it's great, the ocean, it is nice, it's very beautiful, it's all the birds and the sound of the waves, and after a while, it's tiring, the current's back and the sun's out, it's beating down. Even though it's winter here in the Southern California, it's been totally blue skies. There's been no rain. I think it was somebody was talking about the drawbacks of it. Of course, there's a lot of parts of LA are not now quite parched. But I just started walking, and along the way, most of the time, not much time. We're just walking. People are just going about their day, or having fun at the beach, or driving around. And I was my first spot was to get into, I was looking to get close to Carpinteria. And because I wanted to go, that was kind of the next stop, that I wanted to go to Carpinteria to go on alms, right? But I ended up actually moving quite slow. And I was quite tired. So I ended up trying to find a spot, earlier basically to rest, the night. And I was looking, kind of checking up place. I think I got around to Montecito, I think. So not just right outside of Santa Barbara. And it was getting dark, so I was like, okay, I'll find a place. And I was looking around, I was walking and looking around. I was like, oh, there's this. Originally, I was looking on the map and I was looking, oh, there's this kind of, maybe this kind of park area. This might be a good place I can find a spot. And while I was walking the street to get to the park, it didn't connect. And I was like, oh, I have to walk around. But I noticed right by the street, there was this kind of stream riverbed, and it was all dried out. Oh. And I couldn't get easily there from the streets. I'd walk around and then walk through the riverbed from kind of like where the main highway was. And it was getting quite dark at this point. And the riverbed was, full of, kind of, not exactly like a street or trail. It's a bunch of rocks and boulders, and just trying to navigate my way through. And eventually found a spot to rest for the night. And I was really, really exhausted, right? But I was also kind of thinking there were actually as close by some homes. And I was like, okay, make sure I don't create a scene for myself, right? So I'm trying to be very quiet, very, maybe there's in the dark, and of course, there was some, things are getting dark. I just put my pack on, and I realized I was quite exhausted. I was like, maybe I was getting like sick or something, but I actually passed out, not too long after that. And I woke up a couple hours later and I got that probably should, you know, put out something. And so I got a little more situated and rest for the evening. And one of the things that I noticed when I was like, I was actually on this riverbed, and there's this tree, and it had all these what do you call these kind of dendrils or vines coming down. And it was the moon was out, and it was just really nice just looking at these things coming down. But there was also, I could hear some going around the bushes, right? And of course, it's probably animals or probably fun, they're probably most friendly, a raccoon or something. But still, it's like you think raccoons, well, they might smell something on, the bullets are bullets right food. And I remember there's a long time ago. Well, I don't know, I'm not gonna talk about that. So anyways, it's actually, so I was, the mind started thinking, oh, so raccoons are going to maybe hear about raccoon, and I was thinking, oh, something I was talking to Randy about, we were talking about kind of like culturally people being more paranoid, yeah, maybe changes in culture and things more fearful. And some part of my mind was going, oh boy, if anybody, there was actually somebody that saw me walk up the riverbed, earlier. It's like, what if they got really like worried about me and they call the police, or who knows, So the mind is starting to kind of turn on that, right? And so it's like, oh, okay. This is what the mind stuff we get start thinking about. So that was an opportunity for me to practice with the mind going to future, to fear. Yeah. So it's like, oh, okay. I'm just here, just resting. Yeah. And if I did that, I wouldn't enjoy this beautiful view of the night sky and the tree. I mean, it was really, it's hard to, some of these like picturesque kind of movies, like, or I could think about the mind, get worried about this or that. Anyway, so there was like obviously no, I shouldn't say obviously, but there was no problem. And I left early in the morning because I realized I actually hadn't walked very far. I was expecting it much closer to Carpinteria. So I ended up leaving quite early and was, trying to, and along the way, I got, so it's worth kind of mentioning, there were a number of people, sometimes I get asked, do you get it? I think it was you who asked, do you have any, no, was it you that asked? Somebody asked that, yeah, there's lots of people that have like waved to you and, giving you thumbs up or peace signs or all sorts of stuff. And, I mean, a lot of times you have a biker that passes by you and then you get thumbs up, all that kind of, and there's a lot of people who are very friendly. And occasionally, of course, you have people that stop you. And so that morning, it was just still quite dark. It was like 5:30 or something. There was a young man that pulled up, and he just got out of his car in the middle, it wasn't in the middle of traffic or anything, just got out of the car and he's like, oh my gosh, like, I want to give you this. And he had like a couple of burritos on. I don't know how he had the burritos at 5:30 in the morning, but so, he's like, how do you have these? And Manijeh knows actually our rules, being by a Giri, like you're probably aware there's only certain times we have to like wait till the sun is starting to come up. And so I actually had to thank him. And he was like, wow, he's very kind and very generous. But I ended up talking with him a little bit. He was somebody that, he realized that he wanted to start doing something differently with his life. Yeah. And for him, seeing a monk was like a sign. He's like, oh, okay, yeah, I really need. And so I talked to him for a while, and it was just encouraging him to, start acting on that. Start spending your time with, wise, good people. you know, you probably have friends and people that are, you know, fun to be around with, but they may not be the most helpful people in your life, yeah. So start limiting the amount of time you spend with them, right? And so, you know, we talked a little bit more and then, you know, we went on our way. And then I was, you know, I was like, oh boy, you know, I'm still, you know, still getting quite slow. So I didn't actually get into carpentry until like, um, gosh, it was must have been like 10 o'clock or something like that point. And so again, for those that don't know, I'm actually kind of in a time window where I can receive food and eat. So the young man who offered the burritos was like too early, right? And if I waited till 12, it'd be too late, right? Or then realistically, people don't, you know, usually takes a little bit of time to offer. There is one really helpful thing, and that is, as a Buddhist monk in this country, and that is there is a group of people that do know what I am, and those are Southeast Asian and in particular Thais. This tradition I come out of is a Thai tradition, and so I was looking, you know, on the map, and I saw, well, there's a Thai restaurant there, so maybe I'll have some luck. So I said, it's getting kind of late, so okay, yeah, I'll go over there. So went over there and stood outside the restaurant and you know, didn't take more than 10 minutes. They were quite excited to see it's because again, this is not the usual thing they'll see. It's like, oh my gosh, you know, you're mocking and like, are you looking at, you know, you look basically, are you on alms round? They said it in Thai, so a different way. They use the word pindapa. And so, oh, okay. And like, you know, and so, you know, I talked to them more and said, well, you know, you could be here if you want to be here, you can have the food here. And the normal customer thing they do is receive food in a bowl and we go out somewhere. And so I decided to stay. And it turns out there are people that actually used to live further up north and went to a Bhante monastery where I ordained, right? And actually, one of the people knew me. I didn't hear it, and so she was like, you know, very happy, and like messaging other people, you know, closer to the monastery up north, right? And they were quite sad and happy. Do you know Apple?
Yes.
Yeah.
that's
They
good.
messaged Apple. And
Oh.
Apple is like, she was quite happy. Because again, I haven't seen them in a long. I don't remember years since I've been there. Anyway.
Yeah.
No, that's not true. I did visit briefly in 2023, but when I was living there, it's been a while. So anyways, afterwards, I started, you know, making my way south. So I knew it was gonna be a while, it might be, you know, very, very difficult. Because again, this was gonna be the longer part of the journey. It's about 20 miles from Carpinteria to Ventura. So anyways, you have to start walking and yeah, along the way, you know, there be again, often just many people that would just be, you know, very friendly, you know, interested with them. Occasionally you have people like um, further down, I was, you know, it was actually the next day, there was just a you know, young, I guess I were youngish, you know, man, and it looked like his girlfriend, they were in a car and wow, you're a monk, you know, it's like, you know, it's like, you know, again, people don't necessarily know what monks are, but they know, oh, that's cool, I like it, right? So you get a lot of that as you're walking, right? And that particular, so, you know, I walked a ways and I said I was getting pretty tired again. And I was, okay, so I need to start finding a place. And this is along the one coast. And I was looking for a spot and eventually found something that was basically near, it's like the train tracks right along the coast. And there was actually this kind of utility shed for managing the lights for the train. So I found a spot that I can be roughly camouflage and then behind like and I'm going to sleep and of course, you know, it's, maybe pick too nice of a camouflage spot because I ended up getting all pricked from all the there's a plant, a thorny bush with lots of prickly, shrubby stuff around it. I actually, when I first was wandering on my own, I once made the bad mistake of sleeping next to a train tracks and much too close. And so, because the problem is you don't necessarily know when the last train is. I thought so this one night, it was very early, this is not this recent time, but much before. I had thought, okay, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock, this should be the last train, and I went to sleep. So I went to sleep, and it wasn't the last train. I remember waking up to this incredibly like jarring, experience of the train right behind me, and just getting totally woken up and shaken up. And I wasn't able to get to sleep for another hour because of all the adrenaline, going through me. So I was more prepared this time. So I was like, okay, I found a further spot away, and a little more hidden. And again, it's like, oh, like, so that night, I remember kind of, thinking, oh, I hope I have to deal with the train. The mind was going to fear, worry. And it's like, oh, you missed what you're kind of experiencing right now, which is very quiet. It's very, the sky's perfectly blue. There's so many things about our experience when we either pay attention to discomfort, or pay attention to worry, or pay attention to whatever it is. We can keep doing this, but there's a result of that. Right? Instead, we can start paying attention to things that are more uplifting. Right? And so it's like, oh, this is a nice spot. I'm not bothering anybody. It's nice to actually can get some sleep. It's actually nice to actually get some sleep when you're that tired, right? And I knew I needed to get some sleep because I still had quite a bit of ways of getting to the train the next day. So I ended up, going to sleep early again, waking up early, and just starting to head out. And this morning again, I was, running late, and so I got in Ventura probably around 10 o'clock, I think. So again, pretty late. Okay. Well, I don't know, we'll just see what happens this morning. And interesting enough, not too long after I, kind of got my things a little organized, got my pull out and start walking in a certain way to, actually somebody just stopped me in the street morning Ventura and said, oh wow, I'm like, are you on alms round? I don't get that very often, but that happened, right? It's like, well, yes, I am. Like, I'll offer you food. So it turns out there's this he was a Buddhist practitioner who lives in Ventura, who saw me, and he actually knows one of the monks that I know who's further east, who's in Camarillo, who I actually saw later that day. And so anyways, he ended up offered a burrito and some tea. And then as I walked on afterwards, there was a woman that stopped me and says, do you know anything about energy? And I was like, oh, what do you think? And energy can mean a lot of different things, right? So I asked her, and she was, she started talking about energy in terms of healing and stuff. And I was like, well, I started talking about, well, if there's no guarantees of it, but if one can learn to be more at ease in the mind, it actually can help the body become more at ease. And the body becomes more at ease, then we're less stressed. We can rest more easily. It helps a lot of, again, no guarantees, but can help with a lot of physical ailments, right? And so she was like, oh, and she started actually talking about, some of her challenges, in particular having to deal with some very, just some, not so nice people. People have been quite aggressive. And so, I listened, for a while to, this is one of the things that ends up happening a lot as a monk. People, again, a lot of people don't know you, but sometimes people come up to you and actually start sharing very personal things about their life. If they see you as a, a religious figure or maybe a safe person. And a lot of times we've been keeping things so bottled up, we're just looking for anybody that's willing to listen, right? So listening and yeah, she's been going through very difficult, right? And I just, shared some, she was, interested in what, I was like, oh, there's not, it's one of the things that is one of my favorite teachings of Buddha. It's you know this, Manijeh, the Mangala Sutta. Some of you might know this is the teaching on blessings. And the first stanza of the Mangala Sutta basically goes like avoid fools, associate with wise people, and honor people actually worthy of honor. If you can do this, just do that. If you can just do that, you're going to receive a huge amount of blessings in life. That might sound so pedestrian and simple. It's like, I can't do that. I can't do that. You have to go on a game show or something to get the blessings in life, right? But no, that's actually a big deal. I think a lot of you probably understand this. It's like, there's a lot of people that might be fun. It might be they're charismatic. It might be, I don't know, you might feel like you're more successful being around them, but they're actually holding you up. These are the people, and of course there are other people that are just, awful urine, right? These are people to avoid spending time, like people that are creating a lot of agitation, a lot of stirring up things for you and others. It's really important to try to avoid being around people. And instead of and start being around people that are wise, that are peaceful, that are kind, yeah. And to actually think about in our minds, who are we actually honoring? Like a very common thing for us to honor people that are wealthy, people that are, movie stars or famous, or honor people that are sports heroes. And there can be things about these people that are worth honoring, but often it's not. Or the reason why we honor them because we're usually interested in the same things, right? Instead, to consciously think, who actually is worthy of honor? Who are the people that are actually uplifting to ourselves and others? Who are the people that treat people well, treat animals well? Who are the people that live a kind and wise life? These are the people worth honoring, right? They're not always the most famous people. They're not always the most beautiful people. They're not always the most kind of, I don't know, putting themselves out there. They might just be hidden for most of the time. That was one of the things I was encouraging her, because she was saying, well, where can I find these people? They're often the people that are just helping out somebody around their neighborhood, right? Or they're picking up the trash, or they're, helping somebody walk across the street. They're not usually very ostentatious or not flamboyant usually, sometimes, but usually not. They're just doing it because they want to be fun, right? And those are the people to look for, and those are the people to start spending time with. So anyways, at the end of this, she actually, she's like, can I give you some money? And of course, as I mentioned before, I'm not allowed to take that money, so I wanted to turn her down and said, well, what is there anything you can't receive? I think, well, she right now, I'm on alms, I can receive food. So she actually had some oranges and some candy. She gave them to me. And so that's what I had that day. I had a burrito, some tea, some oranges, and some candy. And that was my food for the morning. And so just to kind of give you an idea of how this works and how things happen in this kind of wandering lifestyle going on all, even a country like this. This is how it can work. So we use this to practice friendliness, goodwill, practice being with uncertainty, and practice paying attention to things that are uplifting and try to avoid paying attention to things that don't make sense. Yeah. So it's already 8 o'clock, and I know this is in the time that it's scheduled to wrap things up. So I'll leave it at that. And I'm happy actually to stay longer for those that are interested and maybe we have
Maybe
a
they have
Q&A.
some,
Yeah.
questions, maybe.
But for those that need to go, you're welcome. So maybe what we can do is we can take a 5 or 10 minute break. And then
Mhm.
for those that are interested, you're welcome to stay and we can do a Q&A.
I'm wondering
Mhm.
if people on Zoom, if there's anything, any questions or anything it's 8 o'clock, we can end it, but if Bhante is here, if you have questions or anything, we can continue, but you'd like to give a 10 minutes break?
Yeah, just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna take a 10 minutes. If you would like to continue with us, stay and we'll give you opportunity to ask questions. Okay, 10 minutes. It's about 8:03, 8:13. Yeah. Yes, wow. And I just want to make sure these are not for sale or anything, please. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, did I clear that for people that these are not for sale? They're free for taking, yeah. And if anybody wants to write their questions, you could do that too on the.
No, he hasn't. I just asked Dave, Gary's friend Dave, have you spoken with him at all?
David, he's online.
Yes?
He's been online, yeah, David. Is he still there? Yeah, David is here.
I know it.
David, Randy and Maria are asking about you.
Yeah.
Hey everyone.
No, he
Hey,
can't
there he
see us
is.
because the camera is on the Bhante.
Oh, we can turn it around. Here, let's turn around. Can I?
Yeah,
Here
you
we go. Here we
could.
go.
We'll tell him we're saying hello to him.
Okay.
Hi.
Let's do it.
Hi, David. People, can you see?
There we
Hi
go.
guys.
Yeah, we're in there. Hi, dude.
Good to
Great
see
to
you.
see
He's
everybody.
been here.
We're just wondering about you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for your concern. I'm doing well, thank you.
Good.
Good job, yeah.
David, are you in the Bay Area?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm local.
He's
No, not the Bay. He's in LA area.
Yeah.
We have to go.
Yeah, he's here.
Oh,
He's in
the
San
LA
Fernando
area.
Valley.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
but yeah, it looks like, isn't that the Golden Gate Bridge or is that a different bridge?
It's a background.
No. I just wasn't able to make it there
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah. But I'm very thankful for everything here. This was very, very good.
Well, okay, that's great. Let me see. What is the view?
It's great to see everybody. I'm happy to see everybody there doing well.
Yeah, we miss you.
Yes, I hope to be out there soon and come see you guys for sure.
Please do.
Yeah, we'll have a retreat soon.
I would love to. That'd be great. That would be
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. There's a class now that there's a break. I'm starting a class in February 23rd, on the Four Noble Truths.
Oh, okay.
So that-
Could you send me the information on that, please? If you
Oh,
could send
yeah,
me
for
some information,
sure.
that would be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And also the class is offered for free for anybody who's been affected by the fires or
Yeah.
anything, we just look, I would give everything for free, anything. So, yeah. I'll put it on on the chat.
I'll be headed out in February to Australia. I'll be in Australia for 3 months.
Let's see.
Manager, you can turn that around.
Oh,
Well, in this case.
well, I'm getting the link for you for that class. Let me do that and then I'll turn it on.
Thank you,
Sure.
Manijeh.
Couple that heard about this and they said, hey, we want to sponsor you for the title.
Okay.
And that was a couple of years ago, so what is happening since then? Maybe it's taken up like a year.
So I just put it in the chat. That's the class for Four Noble Truths.
Able to make,
You're on tour.
yeah.
And you're all welcome. It's on from 12 to 1:30 midday. And it's both in person and on Zoom. So
So as a layperson, 10 years
Okay.
ago.
yeah,
And what made you decide to become?
let's see. Yeah,
And you know.
I'm
it
just
was-
wondering.
I
Maybe
think-
I.
Thank you. We can, I got that.
You're welcome.
Well.
Okay.
Okay. No matter how like difficult things become, it's like, okay. You know, I often think, you know, even though I've never met the Buddha, it just. How he lived his life and the teaching that he gave, like. I'm just like, sometimes it really helps kind of buoy me up. Knowing that, like, wow, I'm not sure. Who else could you like, do this for, who'd be saying these things that you would trust, okay? Because, it's like, you start giving up all these things and you get this and that, and sometimes you're like, well, why am I doing this? But it's like, oh, okay, because he was, again, the Buddhist teaching is basically that there's a happiness that comes from letting go, which is very opposite, which much of kind of you'd say humanity goes in. Our desire systems are about acquisition, more and more and more. We get more stuff, more success, more safety, then we'll be okay. The Buddha was saying, it's almost the opposite direction, not the opposite. And it takes some, kind of, they say, kind of courage or example to spur one on, to take that leap of faith, so to speak, being willing to go against the grain.
I have a question.
Manijeh, we have the question.
This is Anna.
I found the highest blessing.
Oh, you did? Oh.
Yes, maybe we can chant
Oh,
together.
sure, that'd be great.
That would be amazing.
Yeah,
Well-
it's English, right?
Yes,
Okay.
it's English.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we can do
but
the poly, but it may not have as much.
no, this is English. Yeah. So go ahead, Anna. Go ahead, ask your question.
As a psychologist, I cannot escape my the way I think. So everything begins with self-awareness. And so in your journey, that you're undertaking as a monk, what's one thing that maybe you would like to share with us that you have learned about yourself in this journey?
Oh. So I actually thought I was a very cynical person as a layperson. But actually, what I've found over the years, I'm actually quite hopeful and trusting of people.
Huh. I like that.
What a beautiful learning.
Hmm.
I have a question. I spoke to a friend yesterday whose house burned down in the Holiday fire. And all of her belongings are gone. And so she says, it's similar to the concept of mandala where, teaches us impermanence. So how do you see that? You just talked about letting go in relation to the Palisades fire. Do you have comments or thoughts on that?
Palisades Fire is actually pretty close. So Manijeh, you mentioned there were like people, and Manijeh, there's probably many people here that know people who have been directly affected by the fires, or at least indirectly affected by the fires. I think there's two things that come to mind, right? One is that when something like this happens, it's or anything happening really. It can be a big collective event, right? Of suffering, or it can be an individual, right? Going through something very difficult that's alone. And I think many of us do this, but just understanding that just being present to it is a huge gift. And it's worth restating it because it's not always obvious that it's doing anything for anybody. But actually just being present to however anybody is feeling about something, reacting to something, just listening is actually a huge, huge gift. And the second thing, of course, being a Buddhist monk, and be remiss in not saying this. I talked a little bit before about, one of the basic things the Buddha is trying to do is get us to see things in a proper way. Right? And the proper way is to see things as that aren't permanent, actually as impermanent. Yeah. Our tendency is to see things as permanent, right? Right. Oh, this is a house. It looks so solid, right? Right? Not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But that's not so. Yeah. Our bodies, especially when we're young, we feel almost invulnerable, right? Or we can feel that way. But is that so? No. No. We might have lots of success at our work, right? Or we might have a lot of friends. I did this, I earned this, this is who I am. Is that really so? Things can change very, very quickly, as many people find out. May have happened already to many of you. So these things is actually something the Buddha encouraged us to keep reflecting on. To actually go, oh, is my home actually permanent? And not just, we know that intellectually, but actually to think about it, what would it be like if the fires came through here? What would it be like if, I got, maimed, as a monk, one of the things that I'm routinely dealing with, probably the most dangerous thing I'm dealing with are cars, or not cars, but people driving cars, I should say, on the roads, and sometimes I'm walking quite close, and it just takes one little slip and that's it, I can be maimed. Not doing this anymore. Be more, I'd say, more sedentary monk, living in a monastery probably, but our bodies aren't a given, and at some point we're going to get older, if we're lucky, right? And they're going to start breaking down. The people that we know, that we really care about, that we love, at some point, we're going to have to depart. Something's going to have to give. Yeah. So it's actually important for us to keep reflecting on this routinely, right? And to use the situations, right? Is not something necessary to encourage somebody else, unless you think they might be ready to hear something like this, but to take it on yourself. It's like, oh, what am I taking to be permanent? It's not permanent. Yeah. Yeah. So thinking about one's home, one's life, one's family, one's friends, one's whatever it is. Really start thinking about this. The Buddha, before he even started, you could say, his kind of formal journey into leaving his home, leaving his wife and children, leaving his riches and all that. The reason why he started is because he started thinking about this topic. I could not keep my youth. I could not keep my wealth. I couldn't prevent myself getting old and sick and eventually dying. At some point, me too, I am going to die. He thought and reflected on this over and over, and that's what spurred him on. So he has the same encouragement for all of us. It's important for all of us to use these situations to reinvigorate ourselves. You know, oh, I too, I'm gonna get old, I'm gonna get sick, I'm gonna die. All that I know, that I love, all that I cherish and care about, one day I will have to leave.
Hmm.
As difficult it is to hear, it's also really, really helpful and powerful.
Hmm. There is that path to freedom, right? That you understand it and you're not going to be burdened by it. Hopefully, at the end, when you get it, that this is nothing is permanent, that you just don't cling anymore and you allow for it. Yeah.
There is a sutta. Sutta is a story about the Buddha, and there's a teaching involved. So there was a king at the time of the Buddha, King Pasenadi, and his wife, Queen Malika, I can't remember, Malika, passed away. And the story basically describes the king. When he was told this, he was incredibly distraught, incredibly sad, incredibly upset. And the Buddha heard about this and went to the king. And actually, what he talked about was, he actually talked about this topic. He was saying how basically if one doesn't think about impermanence, right? Doesn't think about that, you know, I too, or people around me are going to eventually get old, get sick and die, that things are going to change. If I don't think about that regularly and reflect upon that appropriately, I'm going to become quite upset. I'm going to be quite distraught. I'm going to become quite bewildered and beleaguered. Yeah. And you know, he had this is kind of a bit of a line that I thought was really interesting. It's like he was saying, one won't be able to enjoy one's food. One will basically, one's enemies will delight in his suffering, and one's friends will become saddened, right? And I thought that was quite interesting. And there's a few other things that I can't remember, you know, the Buddha said, but it was kind of interesting thinking about this because the Buddha is often giving advice to monks, but he was, in this case, he was giving advice or encouragement to a king. And he wasn't trying to like point out like these kind of, you know, long-term kind of maybe benefits of, you know, kind of following Buddha's teachings to this kind of the penultimate end that he was ultimately trying to encourage people to go, but just to start by recognizing that, you know, if I become sad and distraught, it's actually going to it's going to practically make my life worse, the people around me's life worse, and the enemies I have. If you're a king, you're gonna have a lot of enemies, right? It's gonna, you know, they're gonna get quite thrilled from seeing you suffer so much, right? And I was like, it was a very kind of practical way of kind of framing things. I thought it was, oh, that's really interesting. So he was trying to say, hey, look, this is actually going to be practically helpful. It's not a mystical, it can be mystical in a sense, right? But it's very practical to think about one's and others' mortality, right? And so, and then also, he also was in this same sutta, he wasn't just encouraging to reflect on like old age, sickness, and death, which are the classic things in the Buddhist teaching to think about, but also to think about the fact that things have a lifespan. So whatever we like in the world, or we think is a good idea, or something that we think, wow, this is great, it's going to have a lifespan. And at some point, it's going to end. It's important to recognize anything we think about at some point it's going to end, right? So, and this actually goes for things that aren't so good too, right? Any, anything that's like horrible, right? At some point it has its lifespan. So anything in this life that has, right, a beginning and end, it's going, if it starts up, it's going to have an end, right? And similarly, the last thing he wants us to think about is anything that has this, that can be destroyed, that can fall apart, will. And pretty much anything you see materially is an issue, right? Even like, something like this, if I can pull, and this may seem, but this is not, this is probably one of those hard, hard things here, but this has a lifespan too.
I had one that dropped and broke, actually.
There you go.
A smaller one. Oh. Okay. Anybody there on Zoom who has a question?
Yes, may I ask a question? Ton, I appreciate your talk. I and the meditation practice. I have a couple of, I guess they're practical questions. I was wondering if you are able to state, like, how might you stay in touch with your mother? Do you write letters, things like that?
Okay.
Also, yeah, if I could add like another part of that as far as the schedule at the monastery and then the schedule that you also follow on the days when you're not there, like, would you have any, I guess, what we might consider days off from that? And would you even want that, or how? So very curious. Thank you in advance.
It's a good question. So different monasteries are different. At Abhayagiri, we actually would have, you could say, it wasn't quite the weekend days, but something equivalent. So there would be rest days, where there would be a schedule, but the same sort of activities wouldn't be there. So Manijeh, you may remember, there are the days that follow the phases of the moon.
Yes.
So the full moon was a special day, the new moon was a special day, and the half moons half moons were special days. And the day after was also a special day. So we would the full those full moon and half moon days. I think they changed this recently, but we used to basically practice most of the night until about 3:30 in the morning.
Yes.
Yeah, and then the day after, they allow us to rest and have more of there wasn't any assigned work or anything like that. So the first question though was around my mother. So actually that's part. So I'm visiting right now. Part of the things I'm trying to help them do is get her kind of communication thing. So making sure, she had her phone works, or she has a tablet, and I actually have been kind of making it simpler for her so that's easy for people, including myself, to call her or vice versa. So the things actually work, they're properly working, the other things are working. And the last thing is on one's own. It's good to, yes, follow a schedule on one's own. It's when I'm wandering, I don't try to do that because it's almost impossible. I mean, you can do it, some monks do try, but it's very difficult. But when one is, I say, not in that kind of, literally wandering on one foot, yeah, it's very normal, customary to set a schedule. I haven't been doing it lately. I should be doing it, actually, it'd be a good thing. I'm glad that's a good question. It'll spur me on. I've been so in this mode of like, okay, I don't have so much time. I gotta take all these things with my mom. But even in that mode, it's often we can always kind of justify a reason to, there's some important reason I shouldn't do this. And it's like, whenever you start to think that way, it's really important to take a step back on, the mind fooling itself right now. So anyways.
Thank you.
You have the presence. You have the practice of being present all the time, or mindful, practicing.
That's what we always want to be doing. So always practicing. And also putting ourselves in situations where it's easier to do so. I would guess for many of you coming to a place like this, having somebody, lead or guide meditation, being around other people of like-mindedness, it's gonna be easier to be present, it's gonna be easier to practice mindfulness. Again, not knocking disco clubs or, I didn't have disco clubs, whatever. It's in my age, right?
Oh,
I'm
thank God
just trying to
somebody
think-
else thinks disco.
Yeah. But going,
Yeah, they're not called discos, but
Okay.
they're clubs.
the club.
It could be jazz club.
Going out, it's not gonna be the most conducive place to practice mindfulness. Yeah, because it's quite intentionally trying to draw you out, right? Hey, look at this and hear this, and this is fun, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And then, of course, they often have intoxicants and other things going on. Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll do a Monday night here. We used to do that, yeah. They have to come back. This Zoom business changed everything,
Oh, you mean
being
like,
online and people don't want to get out and they
Sure.
prefer to stay home.
yeah.
Yeah, but maybe if there's interest, we can do that. Yeah.
So I've been, a lot of monks we've been, I don't want to say playing is the right, experimenting with technology,
Mhm.
like. Because it does have a use. I mean, everybody recognizes there's a use to this, right? Obviously, people are being able to listen to this online, but it has its drawbacks, is what you're talking about. And so a lot of this is really about being willing to look at both the benefits and drawbacks in a, holistic way.
Mhm.
And sometimes it goes, okay, I think the drawbacks are outweighing the benefits, and it's worth changing things up. But it's worth like looking at the whole picture.
Question, do you feel like you're in danger ever? You're out there on the streets, I just think of Los Angeles and on the homeless, like, do you interact with the homeless?
I mean, I'm homeless, so.
But our homeless.
Right,
Our
right,
homeless
right.
population.
Again, the most dangerous thing I'm dealing with are cars and people driving them.
Homeless people driving cars, even worse. Thanks.
If people offer you a place to stay for the night, when you could stay at someone's house,
Yeah, well, actually, I think Manijeh and Randy are trying to do that tonight, so I'll talk afterwards and
you
see.
don't have to go to the backyard.
Yeah.
Mail.
Yeah, find a place, actually, I saw a lot of places when I was driving up here, it's like, so it's to be clear, there are situations where I am like thinking about, maybe, I should be careful here, but it's pretty rare. And I mean, I'll give you, usually like the kind of the most aggressive things that have come up for me are actually around people that are getting, how do you say, challenged in a religious way. That makes sense. So most of the aggression I've experienced is like, say which religions, but just people say, oh, you're basically practicing the wrong religion. Yeah, so that's usually the law of aggression I get. There was one time I did get somebody who I could tell wanted to get in a fight with me, and it was actually from a misunderstanding. It wasn't a religious thing, but it was, he actually wanted to give me a fist bump. He was actually quite excited to see a monk. And I said, oh, that's, like, this actually, we can't do that, but it's kind of like, do this. And he really didn't like that. He was like, no, you gotta give me a fist bump. So, I mean, take that for what you feel. Yeah, and I've been a number of people that, let's say, are, fellow homeless, and maybe they have offered food, offered things of protection, offered advice of how to stay protected. I think one of the things people don't realize is that most, again, I don't have a number, I don't study this or stuff, but anecdotally, what I've personally experienced, most homeless people I encounter are actually people living in their cars. And most of them probably work or are working. Okay, so you're not even seeing them, so first of all. The ones that you might be more, let's say that they're like staying on tent somewhere, you know. They're actually victimized a lot. I think that's the thing that people are real, people see them as like kind of. It could be some of the other homeless, but a lot of times there's other people taking advantage of them. That maybe have a kind of better living situation. So I've often got, advice for, oh, it's okay here, be careful about that place and that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm usually not thinking too much about that.
Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah.
What the statistics.
I don't know what this, I just think I don't know. Yeah.
Studied.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be more afraid of the religious challenges than the unhoused.
What about bathing and all that? Yeah.
Well, again, I usually, lately I haven't done it, that much, like the same extent I did, let's say a couple of years ago, when I was over 2 months, but. Whenever I have an opportunity to, I just do it, so that's like, it's like, when you're. Really starting to, get sweating, everything you have is just, like probably not so clean. Any opportunity you have to take a shower is great, and they come, like kind of like, your question, was about, can you accept a place I can, and people do offer it quite regularly. So a lot of times when people offer a place to stay, like, I'll give you one example. So when I was in the Northeast last year, it was just in like November, December. I was traveling on train from one segment from New York City up to Rhode Island. And I met a man who was a Hindu man. And he was like super interested. Like, those monks, I asked lots of questions. And he said, well, where are you going to be? I'm like, well, I'm going to be, going to come to Massachusetts. Well, that's right. Can you come to my, so he actually requested for me to come to his place. So I remember I was visiting at that point, visiting my cousin, his family, walked from my cousin's place to his place, which is about a day's journey. And he offered place to stay, shower, food the next morning, and then drove me to the monastery I was headed to. So this is often what happens. And I'm saying it's not a guarantee. I mean, that's part of it, but it does happen sometimes.
Fantastic.
And in that case, it's from a person who's a different religious practicing a different religion. But he was thrilled. But again, you occasionally get people that practice a different religion, they're not so thrilled. But I've met Christian, Catholics, I know Catholics are, I'm not gonna do that. Muslims, I think, obviously Hindus, and they all, I remember there's 2 Muslim young men who have lots of questions for me, and they're very curious and interested. And they actually asked the question, it's like, so, in our faith, we actually want to convert, like our ideal would be everybody in the world would become Muslim, right? That would be our ideal. You don't, what about you? And like, well, I'm like, no, I have no desire to do that. And it's like, well, wouldn't you want everybody to become Buddhists? I'm like, no, actually, I'd want you, I was picked I want you to become good Muslims. I want Buddhists to become good Buddhists. I want, whatever you are, become good however you are. So whatever your particular religion or practice, whatever profession, I want you to learn how to be happy, content, wise, and peaceful. Whatever your particular background is. I mean, if Buddhism strikes your fancy, that's great, but it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. What I am actually interested in is helping people learn how to be content and happy.
I like that. That's good.
It makes me think that, in my opinion, that's how children should be raised, and sometimes people get together and they're different, the mom and the dad are different religions, or even if they're the same religion, shouldn't be necessarily pushing one religion ideally it would be letting them explore and maybe exposing them to different experiences in life.
Mm.
Oh,
I'm wondering, no money. How do you take the bus?
Good question. So so the bus, I was given that, it was actually, so when I was here in West Hills last week, there was a Buddhist couple that offered me a night and food the next morning. And they bought me a ticket. And so I was originally gonna use it then, but they actually ended up driving me down.
Good.
And then I still had the ticket, so I'll be able to get up here. Yeah.
everything has to be offered.
So prior to becoming a monk, did you only eat once a day before? Was it hard to get used to that?
I'm not, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say it's been used, it's, just because, I wouldn't say it's like I've gotten used to it. It's more like you learn to see it in a different way and learn how to not overreact to like starting to get hungry, or like a lot of times when we're feeling hunger, there's different things we're feeling, and sometimes our minds can be, how do you say, I don't want to say fooling ourselves, but yeah, fooling ourselves, yeah. So sometimes we can think, oh, I'm really hungry. If I don't eat, I'm going to blah, 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 right? And it might be true, but it might not be. And so you start to learn about kind of filtering out what's actually true, not true. Like as a simple example, like, sometimes when I'm, on alms in a place, people, so usually what I do is I find like a supermarket or something. I try to go relatively early, and I'll just stand out there when it's full and see if anybody approaches, right? And, sometimes I'm actually quite hungry and tired, and I'm out there, and my mind, if I let it go in that direction, it starts going, oh, I'm so hungry. Why does anybody care about me? I'm so hungry. I'm gonna die. I look, I've gone a day or two without getting food. I'm not dead. Right. And however, there's other times where I actually have, let's say, not eaten for a day or two. And I was trying to walk, and I'm like, whoa, I'm starting to get dizzy, and like I'm starting, you go, oh, okay. So you start, or like in particular, if I'm out, not with something like this, but if I'm like wandering on my own with my pack, very heavy, you put a lot of effort carrying that pack, a lot of calories getting burned. It's a very different story. I'm not eating that. So you start to learn what that feels like. Yeah. So the short answer is, I don't think I've gotten used to it. I think I've gotten more knowledgeable about it.
Yes. I mean, when we go to the monastery, it's the same. So, I mean, they do give us a little breakfast too. But this one meal a day, people who haven't gone yet, they're like, no way, I'm not gonna go. No, one meal a day. But then when the kitchen is clean and done and closed, and there's not gonna be a food. You can't go to the fridge. You can't. The mind just gives it up. You just give it up. You just don't think about it anymore. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna happen. Thinking about it is not gonna happen. So you just let it go finally. That's my experience.
Yeah, I had the same experience at the monastery.
Yeah.
And again, there's no food. You could cheat and lie to yourself and sneak food in your tea, and then you're cheating yourself. So yeah, I'm like, I'm a foodie, and I have no problem adhering
Yeah,
to
your mind
one
gives up.
meal a day,
It
get a little
really-
tea, it's
there's
tea
nothing.
time, and
I think I could do it if it was dinner, but not just.
No, you
Yeah.
get
It's
lunch.
lunch.
No,
It's
lunch is
actually
the
lunch.
meal. You get a lunch, yeah, your lunch is the meal. But,
But it's also, I feel it's conducive to the way they live up there. We're not dispensing the kind of energy we do down here, so the way we all get up, go to work, hustle bustle, we're up there in nature, meditating, doing some light chores, meditating some more, nature, library, it's, yeah, you're just in that.
I just can't imagine that walking, eating.
Right. Well, so again, that kind of practice that I'm doing, that kind of wandering, it's a very particular kind of practice that's intended to strain and stress yourself. It is not easy. It's different than being at the monastery. It can be challenging in the monastery still, like, because sometimes, you know, you are doing work that's quite physical and intensive. You're burning a lot of calories and doing so. And so we are taking on these practices that are challenging because we want to learn to see, learn how our minds sort of create suffering. We all learn how to encourage it to be content and happy, even in these difficult situations. Right? At the end of the day, you know, as we get older, it often doesn't get easier. Right? You know, a lot of times I'll talk to people that are, you know, maybe they're 70s, 80s, 90s, and you know, it's not uncommon for people to say, "God, I wish it was in." You know, I wish I can't. You know, I can't take this anymore, or something along those lines. Depending on, you know, it can be quite difficult, yeah. And so we're sort of learning how to be present and learn to be more skillful with difficult, challenging circumstances, like the body not feeling well, or us being really tired, or hungry, or whatever it is. Because this is going to be very similar things to other things who might be unavoidable experiences. Somebody has a physical ailment, and maybe it's cancer, maybe it's something else, right? Or maybe the treatment for it is, you know, I've sometimes heard the treatment for some of these things is worse than, you know, than actually whatever the thing they're experiencing, you know. All these things can be very, very difficult, right? So learning how to be at ease in these situations, we can learn how to do that by trying to extend ourselves in situations before it happens, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right.
How long is the period of wandering?
For me, well, I've just been, I decided just to do it, and I do it in, I've been practicing different ways, you know, like I said, sometimes I do it very intense. I've done it very intensely. Last year or so, I've been doing it more kind of piecemeal. So as an example of this is, over the summer, I decided I was going to go on Hindenburg every day in a place that nobody, or almost nobody would know where I was doing. This I found it was like a town in Bozeman, Montana, and decided to go there. Actually, it turns out there are more people that knew about me. But actually, including a couple of people around by Geary. No kidding. Yeah. Anyways, well, I'm not. I can tell them about later. But I went up to Hindenburg every day. But I was in a single city, so I wasn't traveling a lot. But it was very physically difficult. It can get quite cold even in the summer there. I also decided I was going to do it the traditional way. Normally, in Southeast Asia, monks go barefoot when we're in Hindenburg. And so I decided, well, I'll see how the people here respond. I want to see how I would respond too. And so I decided to take it on. And then, you know, later after I left, I did that for 3 months, and left that, I decided I was just going to travel to different monasteries, beautiful monasteries, spend a few weeks here, a few weeks there. And then I'd travel someplace on foot, and then I'd, you know, maybe stay at a monastery, you know, so I'd just be kind of piecemeal a bit the last year or so.
So just to verify, you were walking barefoot in Montana?
Yeah, on all the trail, not the whole time, but when I was in the morning collecting food, yes. Yeah, I actually found it here in the United States, it's probably maybe not the best thing to do, just because I think too many people saw it as like, you're already kind of weird as it is. And I think that was a bridge too far for a lot of people. There was actually one person who came, so I was invited to do some teachings there. There was somebody that reported, that came to my teachings and said, well, I gotta confess, when I actually saw you once. And I thought, wow, there's a Buddhist monk. And it's like, wow, it was really cool. And then he saw me, he's like, then I noticed your feet and you're barefoot. And I was like, he's just some crazy guy. And then of course he saw, and then he came to my teaching, he was like, oh, I guess he's for real, you know.
Oh,
So
wow.
when I heard that, I heard other people, there was other times where people were like, please, we really want to give you some shoes, and like, and you go like, no, I'm really okay. I'm doing this on purpose. Yeah, so I think in certain areas it'd be okay in the United States, but I think it might be too much for some places. Yeah.
Quick question,
Yeah.
kind of following up to what we were talking about earlier about impermanence. Would you say that like accepting that nothing is permanent or accepting impermanence is like the path to detachment, or can you talk a little bit more about like detachment?
Yeah, definitely. So the Buddha encouraged to keep reflecting on it and thinking about it. So what does that mean? It just means like, oh, instead of, I could be thinking about, oh, what I'm gonna do tomorrow, and oh, this person annoyed me, and oh, whatever, okay? It's going, oh, this bell, it's going to maybe crack one day.
Mhm.
And Manijeh, oh, I mean, you know, I may not see you again, and I may not actually meet you, because who knows, I might go to Australia and really like it there, or I might, that's the last place every time I come back to the US, or, you know, whatever you see, you want to keep thinking about it regularly. That's the kind of the point of the encouragement from the Buddha. So not just think about it once and think it's a good idea, or think, oh, that makes sense. You actually keep bringing it up and make it very vivid. And so it's actually thinking, oh, wow, I feel really good, but that's going to change. You know, like I'm going to get older and things start falling apart. And these people the people you know in your life that you really care about, I'm gonna have to leave them. Or they have to leave me, or something's gonna happen. Really keep thinking about that over and over and over again. But that's what the Buddha was encouraging. Not just to think it's a good idea, not just agree with it or have it make sense, but to keep reflecting it, really make it personal and vivid. I'll give you an example of something I did, a practice I did as a layperson before I was a monk. I often would walk to places, let's say get some lunch or go to work or whatever, see somebody. And I remember I would like at the start of a block and I'd stop and I'd go, okay, when I get to the end of the block, I'm going to die. Really, really bring that up. And imagine this is the last block I've ever walked. And I get to the end, that's it. And we start walking. And just be very present. Just allow whatever comes up to start coming up and just be very present to it. And then, yeah. Just be very present to it. And then start again. And then stop. And so that's a way that we really start to make it vivid, real, and to keep bringing it up over and over and over and over again. The Buddha actually said that would be too lax for his, he actually said, it was a famous line of questioning he got. It was like, basically asked monks, like, how often should one be reflecting about that? And a lot of monks are saying, oh, maybe once a day. And the monks said, oh, once every time we eat, and et cetera, et cetera. So I'm like, oh, every, I don't know, every hour, just making up stuff like that. But, monks were saying different, they're arguing about it. Buddha said, no. The monk that said every in-breath and every out-breath, they're thinking about death, that's the correct answer. So the Buddha was trying to say that's how much we should be reflecting on death and impermanence.
No, pounds are just on deck.
Yeah, I mean, you don't wanna, I mean, you're talking about like, oh, I'm gonna be in some grisly car accident. No, I mean, no, that's not, it's not to, how do you say? There's this, oh God, there's this old movie called like, it was like a documentary called like Faces of Death. Does anybody remember? Okay, yeah, or it's not to become like voyeurs or something, or, yeah, it's actually just to go.
Accept it.
Yeah, it's to learn to make it this real. Yeah, to make it real. To go, okay, I'm not gonna be around forever. They're not gonna be around forever. This body's not gonna keep doing the thing that it's doing.
How do you handle, another question, I mean, this is really practical with everybody that's living in their home. And they don't necessarily have a place to even sleep. How do you handle like not getting frostbite or,
Oh,
yeah,
well, that's part of the reason why I had a big pack. Actually, the big reason I had a big pack. So aside from whatever sort of belongings I have, I try to keep to a minimum. Yeah, it's just stay warm when I was in the Northeast. I mean, it was really cold out there in the Northeast, yeah.
so you looked out, I mean, people donate, I guess, to some people too, like if you don't have enough articles of clothing.
Yeah, so they've been very generous. In fact, the thing that I've been more challenged by is and I have to be, careful about it sometimes, but trying to politely, like, how do you say, turn down offers, that makes sense? Because sometimes people like see you, they go, oh my God, you need a blanket and this and that, and it's like, in my mind, I'm like, well, that's true, but I also need to be able to walk. Because there's, I mean, like carrying this mountain of things and walking, 10 steps and then collapsing, Manijeh can imagine, but. So I'm often trying to balance, being practical and also, trying to stay warm.
Mhm. Thank you for doing it. I swear, I was telling Richard, I think, look, somebody's gotta do this. These practices,
Oh, yeah.
these very, very deep, intense practices to keep the Dharma pure, to keep the core of understanding real. I mean, if we just live comfortably, we can't look, we're not doing that. Thank you for doing it. And keeping the core of the heart of reality alive and able to be transferred to us. And we do it in our way. But this is, I mean, I don't know how to express my gratitude other than my entire being is just humbled. And I'm grateful that you do it. Not just the Tudong or this difficult thing, but just being a monk, having those precepts and being dedicated and being so inspired to keep them, to take yourself through and see this mind, see this that is constantly tricking us and becoming skilled and becoming more aware and present and so much more resilient and just like not suffering. This is incredible. This is extraordinary that I am grateful for all of you who do it, who become a monk and everything that goes with it. Oh my God. Do you remember Kurosh, Bhante? My son, Kurosh.
Yeah, oh, I do remember.
Because he had the intention of going forward. He did, yes. He did. So this chanting is in his name. When he passed away, one of our good friends, because he loved 4 of these chantings, and then one of our good friends made them, printed them, and brought them. And so to me, you're all my sons. You're all my sons who have become a monk, and so grateful for that.
Do we want to try doing it as a
If you-
chanting? Yeah.
Yeah, if you would
Yeah,
please,
please.
so the highest blessing that you were talking about, Mangala Sutta, is there to really.
Page back.
three mandala sutta
The
that,
highest blessing.
yes, the highest blessings. Every chance we get, we kind of chant them. Yeah.
So I'll go ahead and leave this and
So somebody's asking something. Go ahead.
is there a
Hi,
written question?
it's Diane. Hi.
Okay.
I just have a question. Where are you going after Manijeh's house? Do you have plans?
Like I said, right now there's some practical things I need to help take care of with my mother's. I do want to. I'm gonna try to make a visit, just at least a short visit to Wameta and Deer Park. Before I leave the country. So I don't have a lot of time, but I'm trying to. take care of
Okay.
those things.
Well, I'm in Santa Barbara, and if you wanted to take the train up here and stay a night on your journey forward, I would like to offer, you to stay here.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, if I'm ever up in that area, I'll try to keep that in mind.
Yes.
Yeah,
Santa
just
Barbara-
touch with Manijeh and she'll put you in touch with me.
Okay.
Yes, she's a very good friend of mine. Yes.
Yes, and thank you for
Thank
this.
you, Diane,
Beautiful.
for that. Yeah. Well, we can maybe.
So this has a certain rhythm and a certain cadence, and just, you haven't done it before, just follow along, but it'll make sense. So the Manijeh and a few others will know because you've done this at the monastery. Okay. Thus have I heard that the Blessed One was staying at Savatthi, residing at the Jeta's Grove, in Anathapindika's park. Then in the darkness of the night, a radiant Deva illuminated all Jeta's Grove. She bowed down low before the Blessed One. Then standing to one side, she said, Devas are concerned for happiness and ever long for peace. The same is true for humankind. What then are the highest blessings? Avoiding those of foolish ways, associating with the wise, and honoring those worthy of honor. These are the highest blessings, living in places of suitable kinds, with the fruits of past good deeds, and guided by the rightful way. These are the highest blessings, accomplished in learning and craftsman skills, with discipline highly trained, and speech that is true and pleasant to hear. These are the highest blessings, providing for mother and father's support, and cherishing family, and ways of work that harm no being. These are the highest blessings, giving with Dhamma in the heart, offering help to relatives and kin, and acting in ways that leave no blame. These are the highest blessings, steadfast in restraint, and shunning evil ways, avoiding intoxicants that dull the mind, and fearfulness in all things that arise. These are the highest blessings, respectfulness and of humble ways, contentment and gratitude, and hearing the Dhamma frequently taught. These are the highest blessings, patience and willingness to accept one's faults, seeing venerated seekers of the truth, and sharing often the words of Dhamma. These are the highest blessings, the holy life lived with ardent effort, seeing oneself the noble truth, and the realization of nirvana. These are the highest blessings, although involved in worldly ways. Unshaken the mind remains, and beyond all sorrows spotless secure. These are the highest blessings. They who live by following this path know victory wherever they go, and every place for them is safe. These are the highest blessings. Thank you. This is the Buddha,
Yes,
right?
Thank you.
the highest blessing. I guess people would like to sleep over. Yeah.
Thank you. I have to leave, but thank you again. This talk
Go.
was wonderful. Thank you and deeply appreciative.
Thank you so much, Tan and Manijeh. Thank you.
You're welcome. So good to have you all. Thank you for staying this long. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, good night. So, people, please help yourself with anything. If you would help put things away, that would be great too. That would be nice. And Bhante, was I supposed to open the juice, the lid for you? No,
It didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be one of these things, if I was walking a lot, that juice would be very attractive. There was actually one time, I'm trying to think, I forgot what the situation was, and somebody offered me juice, and it was like one of these big bottles of juices, and I actually remember drinking most of it. In like one kind of, yeah, because you go through a lot of calories.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.